duty, honor. We call upon our troopers in this our darkest hour. Our way of life is what we're fighting for. The flag that flies above us inspires us each day to give our very best in every way. It's a good day to die when you know the reasons why. Citizens, we fight for what is right. A noble sacrifice. When duty calls, you pay the price. For the Federation, I will give my life. For the Federation, I will give my life.
Starship Troopers. So this is a movie I've wanted to talk about for a long time.
Mars Attacks!
What? No,
Mars Attacks, that's what you're reviewing, right? It's got a troop of stars.
Too many, if you ask me. Take Danny DeVito, for example.
Hey! Am I the only one shooting craps here?
Just like his character, his role in this movie is way too short.
But there's Jack Nicholson in it. And twice. There's no way we can't watch it.
Alright, for Jack.
For Jack.
To Jack Sparrow.
So, the movie opens up in Lockjaw, Kentucky. And we see a stereotypical racist being stereotypically racist.
Oh, why you sit up?
Because you're cooking up a feast.
I swear I know these two from somewhere. The movie then sets the tone as we see a stampede of flaming bullshit.
I love the opening credits to this movie. The graphics look great, and the music is haunting and atmospheric while still maintaining a comical tone to it.
I agree. The music in this movie is excellent. It almost reminds me of... yeah, there it is. Danny Elfman and Tim Burton are basically butt buddies.
The film starts off with our main man Jack, playing the President of the United States. I can't believe this man. He chews the scenery harder than a day-old steak out of a pre-Ramsey kitchen.
You would think that Nicholson's charisma would melt everyone else in this room with his radiation, but check out his aides. We have America's biggest weasel, Martin Short, and Pierce Brosnan, hot off of GoldenEye.
The roll call continues as we see Glenn Close playing an uppity First Lady, a young Natalie Portman playing her brooding daughter, obviously sort of a blank slate for the female viewership to enjoy the movie.
Roosevelt was too fond of chintz. That's why.
Cutting to the second setting in this movie, we see a blaxploitation famed Jim Brown playing an ex-wrestler turned casino host. He gets a phone call from his wife, who turns out to be Pam Goddamn Grier. The star power in this movie is so strong that it basically drives itself into the negative zone. These actors have such great personality, they just end up drowning each other out.
Star power?
Well, compare this to Independence Day, which came out in the same year. Lots of people love making this comparison because their plots are nearly identical. While they both have a cast of 1,000 faces, adding in many stereotypes as possible for serve as audience stand-ins, I just think Emmerich does it better.
But Mars Attacks has a Jack, Danny, Michael, Sarah, Natalie, Glenn. How does that even begin to compare?
Well, for one, Independence Day has Will Smith, literally the most likable man in history, and the movie just mainly focuses on him. It flits back and forth between him and Goldblum, yes, but because they don't intrude on each other too much, the movie has enough breathing space for you to actually appreciate what's going on. Mars Attacks is such a clusterfuck of actors that it's hard to just kind of take in what's going on. There's no breathing room here.
I think you're wrong there, but I do agree with the fact that the movie throws a lot of shit at you and then throws some more shit at you. So I do think that it could use a bit of a breather room every now and then. It's probably why the start of the movie is so much better than the finish. It shows more of an interaction with the characters. Michael J. Fox and Sarah Jessica Parker talking about the news coverage. Jack's second character, Art Land's wife, hoping the Martians are going to come and straighten out the Earth. Jim Brown and Lucas Haas's interactions with their family.
You're onto something there. We also see the politics in the endeavor as well, as Nicholson wants to turn this thing into a PR event. Brosnan deduces that there's some kind of intelligent species, and therefore they would have little reason to be hostile. But Nicholson's general wants to go out on an all-out war.
Well, screw the press. This is a need-to-know situation. We should make it top secret, and we should move in right away with DEFCON 4.
After Nicholson's presidential speech, we see the second family this movie focuses on, a bunch of trailer trash, starring famed redneck Joe Don Baker and Jack Black as militant nutballs, as well as Lucas Haas as the male self-insert.
1 minute 57 seconds!
This family's necks are so red that I'm surprised the Martians didn't confuse it for their home planet.
Hold on, rewind a bit. At Stanford, Carrie, it's a Sex and the City reunion.
Ugh. Anyways, Pam Grier expresses worry to her husband that she hasn't heard from her kids in a few days, but while on duty at her job...
Excuse me, folks, but we gotta make an unscheduled stop!
It's Mama.
What are you doing here, huh? If you ain't gonna come home, why aren't you in class, huh?
Mama, because class was
Not canceled. Now you don't let a bus, boy. Y'all will be tripping all over you. You get back there and I don't want to hear another word out of you. You hear me? I heard that.
Strong, independent woman!
We cut back to Parker and Brosnan doing a TV interview about the Martian encounter, flirting with each other, but not overtly. It's a pretty decent scene because it doesn't resort to the usual Burton blatancy.
You like my work?
Brosnan is just so cool that he can not only smoke in his studio, but he can do it on national TV. I don't even think he lit that pipe. He's just so hot that it smokes on its own.
However, they are interrupted by the Martian Chancellor in a juxtaposition of the presidential speech. And although he sounds ridiculous with his quacking voice, and the lighting and general mode of the character makes the Martian look intense and quite frightening. Following this intense broadcast, the cabinet meets once more to decipher the message.
How did they get that data back there? They haven't even met the Martians yet, and somehow they have this detailed chart.
All green of skin, 800 centuries ago. Their bodily fluids include the birth of half-breeds.
How many centuries did he say?
Fundamental truth
800,
is
sir.
Self-determination of the cosmos. For dark is the swathe that mows like a harvest.
Still better than Babelfish. The cabinet then makes up plans for the first contact between Martian and man. Nicholson charges General Casey with representing the US in the encounter.
This actually leads to probably the coolest and most memorable scene in the movie. The suspense is at its utmost. The audience is left wondering the Martian's true intent, and coupled with the film's cast also teetering on the edge of decisiveness, it's about as tense as the film is going to get. Wait, what does that sign on the bleachers say?
Welcome to Earth.
As the Martian craft touches, we hold our breath along with the actors. That spaceship actually reminds me of one of those claw arm thingies at amusement parks.
Actually, pause that for a sec. That reminds me of something.
The first contact seems to go well as General Casey is assumed to make a Martian symbol for peace.
Babelfish then finally kicks in and delivers the General's message.
Ah! Look at the guy on the right!
We come in peace. We come in peace.
Woo!
Came in peace.
Ah!
Wow, the black guy died the first and the worst.
What the hell was that? I just saw a maggot disintegrated before my very eyes. This movie's supposed to be PG-13. Just because there isn't any blood doesn't make it okay.
Man up, you pussy! The Martians continue to slaughter the crowd mercilessly as Asscrack McBlack rises to the occasion.
Well, his character arc was pointless. It's a good thing we wasted that scene of him assembling the gun in record time, or I would never assume that he was incompetent. Ow! We also see Michael J. Fox get fried as he tries to save SJP for no reason. Ugh, this movie's a precursor to so many bad memories. Michael J. Fox is suffering from Parkinson's, 9/11 happened in New York, and Pierce Brosnan wasn't dying the other day.
Yeah, maybe to them doves mean war.
Little shit.
Brosnan and Nicholson then meet up to send a message to the Martians, saying that the dove was a cultural misunderstanding.
United States.
Pierce is just too cool in this film. I mean, he makes any woman wish they were a tobacco pipe in his mouth.
What little story this movie had is over now. It's basically become a 100-minute premise. Martians have a meeting, humans die. Martians have a meeting, humans die. Martians have a meeting, humans die. It's not like the movie ignores this either. Both Brosnan and Nicholson's characters beg the Martians for some reason to this madness. What? It's a legitimate question. These Martians have about as much motivation as the Gremlins. Why in the hell do the Martians want the Earth for anything other than just land? Which they don't even say.
That's why.
The Martians have two sexes, like we do.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's a lot of good things about this movie too. For one, the visuals are excellent. For 1996, the CGI is actually pretty good. And as an homage to 1950s sci-fi, it does a pretty damn good job. For example, this scene here with the saucer firing on the Washington Monument is a direct reference to the classic Earth vs. the Flying Saucers. The design of the spaceships themselves is actually right out of that movie, right down to the ray gun.
You seem to forget Nicholson's amazing speech at the end of the movie. The Martians break into his secret bunker and toy with the Americans some more by throwing a snow globe into the room.
Yeah, I admit there are a lot of cute moments in this movie like that. Like when the two sons of Pam and Gary defend the president from the Martians. They clearly are bad enough dudes. The scene where Nicholson is talking to the French Prime Minister is pretty cute too, if only because of the racism.
Anyways, if there's anything anyone remembers from this movie, it's Jack Nicholson's speech at the end. It's so comical, yet heartwarming. It really makes it hard not to smile.
Why can't we all just get along?
I don't know, Mars Attacks is pretty mean-spirited too. The whole bit after Sarah and Brosnan get kidnapped and experimented on is supposed to be played for laughs, but it comes out terrifying.
Wow, she actually looks better like this. I wonder what Sex in the City would look like if she had the head of that dog.
By Miranda's wedding day, I thought the whole world had gone romantic when Samantha insisted on picking me up in a cab.
Seriously though, look at this. Brosnan is hanging there with his head dangling from a metal harness and his various severed body parts are strewn around. His cut open torso is next to him and his still beating heart is hanging dangling from some wires.
Although the ending is pretty rushed, I think it kind of makes up for itself. Annette Bening and Jim Brown come across Tom Jones in the flesh.
You're Tom Jones, right? It ain't unusual, eh? Tom, can I have an autograph?
And they decide they're gonna fly to Tahoe Caves for safety. However, Jim Brown has got to get back home to his lady.
So Nicholson dies, then he dies again, then DeVito dies, and then Jim Brown has a ridiculous fistfight with the Martian general and punches his bubble helmet open, even though we saw a scene less than 20 minutes ago of those things being bulletproof.
Doesn't that seem a bit familiar to you?
Now all of you clear out of here!
Throughout all this chaos, Lucas Haas races to the old age home to save his adorable grandmother and is chased by some insane Martian mecha.
I guess you can say the mech. Just enter the wrong area code.
When Lucas saves his grandma, her headset unplugs and the sweet, dulcet tones of Slim Whitman starts to cause the Martians' heads to explode.
The film starts to come to a close as they drive to the radio station, blowing up Martian heads on the way.
Somehow, I think this would be a lot more appropriate with some of our more contemporary artists.
News of this somehow travels ridiculously fast as we see military from all around the world killing Martians with Whitman's music.
Medals are given to the heroes during the aftermath of this ridiculous cataclysm to the tune of the national anthem as played by a mariachi band. Lucas then makes a doofus speech about us living in teepees, which I can only assume is a reference to Whitman's Indian Love Call, the song that killed the Martians, but your guess is as good as mine.
Honey, I'm home. Hey, I recognize this.
The film peters off as we see the surviving cast, Tom Jones and Annette Bening looking gleefully out over the destroyed Martian ships. So that was Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. I strongly recommend this movie for anyone who was a fan of the 1950s science fiction genre, but it's not a perfect movie.
Unfortunately not, but the set, the costumes, the music, the cast, all amazing. Just the shortcomings makes one of those movies that you only pop in maybe once a year. Thank you, brother.
And thank you.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. It's not unusual to go out and die.
What the hell was that? I just watched a man get disintegrated before my eyes, and this movie's supposed to be PG-13?
Man up, you pussy.
I wasn't finished my fucking line.
Oh, I just wanted to do that.
We're gonna make a good blooper reel.